The 1980s, what a time for toys. There was some real good stuff out there. You got Transformers that was released in the mid 80s, and of course late 70s you got Kenner, Star Wars. And you got Mattel that released He-Man, and Hasbro came up with G.I. Joe, so there was so much special stuff to be found. And going to a toy store in the 80s was just a magical experience. You would always write up a list of things that you wanted to your parents. The problem was, your parents sometimes got confused and came back with the wrong toy. Hence, that's why this video is called The Toys That Betrayed Us. It's really the parents that got betrayed by a certain industry that was booming in the 80s. So whilst toy factories like Kenner were working really hard to produce toys for us, you'd got sneaky little companies like Sun Gold, Mannix, and to some extent Remco producing some of the weirdest bootleg toys out there. So I'm sure that some of you have ended up with some of these in the past. I mean, look at this Robot Cop. I mean, that is just blatantly obvious. And of course, the famous UZAY line, Turkish company. But some of these bootleg figures are really cool, and they're really desirable now. And some of them do fetch more money than the originals, believe it or not. I mean, what Batman fan is not going to want a super bat? And this next one is really good. Super Cock. I mean, you'd get arrested if you went in the store and asked for a Super Cock. No, seriously, can you imagine going to the till and saying, have you got a Super Cock? Anyway, first bootlegs we're looking at is Masters of the Universe, He-Man. Now this really boomed in the mid 80s, and Galaxy Heroes by Sun Gold was one of these knockoff lines that did very similar figures to He-Man, just lots of them and lots of different variations. There's Galaxy Fighters too, and there was Galaxy Warriors. And to be honest, I've tried to research and find every single one of these, but it just seems like an endless collection. So the figures are sculpted really well. They come with a sword and a shield, most of them. Very similar to He-Man, with the muscles and the underwear. And the movements are very similar too, because they were action-matic. I did have a large collection of Galaxy Warriors, but unfortunately I hit difficult circumstances last year and I had to sell nearly all the collection. But they are really cool figures, and there's just so much variety to choose from. This knockoff He-Man was a Spanish version, and these were really good actually, and the Skeletor knockoff, which I presume it's from Skeletor, is really good. I'm going to show you that later. These are extremely hard to come by. If you have a look at some of the solds on some of the Galaxy Warriors first of all, they fetch really good money, particularly if you've got a box version. And in most cases these will fetch more than the original He-Man Masters of the Universe figures. Here's a closer look at some of the Spanish variants, and if you see the detail on them, it's really good. Some of the heads are a little bit questionable, but then again, He-Man was a crazy line. if you have a look at some of the designs, and this figure, I really love this figure, it's really good. There was also these little baggy versions, I don't know what they are, I've never found any sold on eBay. So these look really interesting too, the sort of thing you would have found at the front of the post office for 25p. And this Skull Force figure, absolutely love it. Haven't seen many of them for sale, but they do fetch about 50 to 40 quid, the ones that do go up. G.I. Joe, my favourite toy line of all time. And I've still got a lot of my original G.I. Joe figures, cannot sell them, but these were heavily knocked off too. So there was quite a few knockoffs, not worth a lot of money, but we're going to look at them now. So first of all, we've got General Patch, which was by Remco. And then we've got American Force. We've got European Force. And we've got Special Force. Action Hero. And the core. Everybody had Lanard, the core figures. And this one here, blatant knockoff. Leatherhead. Special Force. And then we've got this, I think it's a Spanish version. I've never seen any of them for sale. And American Defence Force. These don't really fetch a lot of money, these knockoffs, although I've never found the Spanish version. Now we turn into the Force. Star Wars was massive in the early 80s, late 70s. And they were knocked off quite a lot. UZAY, this Turkish line, was a really cool knockoff of Star Wars, and I'm going to look through all the figures now. Well, not all of the figures, but some of the figures they released, because they're really good. Obviously we've got a Hoth Trooper there, painted blue, and we've got the famous guy with the remote control, the Imperial Gunner. We've got the Stormtrooper, if that's how you say it. So all of these have just got really weird spellings. Emperor's Royal Guard, rather. What have we got next? Chewbacca. Spelt slightly differently, of course. Then we've got the Death Star droid. We have the AT driver. And we've got C-Freep. I think I missed a few words there on that one. And we've got Boba Fett. I love that, Boba Fett. We've got the Wingman. Everybody needs a wingman. And we've got TIE Fighter pilot. Spelt wrong. And we've got Darth Vader with an E. So they spelt that differently. They're really hard to find, and if you do find them, they fetch quite a lot of money. This R2-D2 is just really cool, the way it's designed, and I actually prefer this version to the original version. So you're looking at about 100 quid if you get that. The UZAY Star Wars line is really hard to find though, so they do command a lot of money if you do see them. So another one we're going to look at now, and I've owned loads of these, is called Space Raiders or Starroid Raiders, whichever you like to call them. It's two different names. These are really cool, these figures are. Most of them have got glow-in-the-dark heads too. I owned about 15 of these, and unfortunately I had to sell them last year when difficult times came along, unfortunately. But if you have a look at them, a lot of them have got stickers on the chest, but they're just really cool. And the body shape and plastic is very similar to the Star Wars figures, but the heads are very alien-esque, if that's a word. And they're just really cool figure, and they do fetch a lot of money. I did quite well when I sold mine. So you can see some of them fetch into the hundreds, and it just keeps creeping higher and higher, depending on which figures you got. These were released in 1978, I believe, by Tomland. The bootleg figures I remember most fondly when I grew up were tiny toughies. They were like 25p in the shop, so I used to be able to buy loads of them for £2. And because I was a big John Wayne fan, I had great fun collecting these. So now moving on to my last two remaining bootleg figures that I own is this Wrestling Champ by Madison Limited. Very similar to Galaxy Warriors. If you look at it, the detail is very similar. It's not got the spring action twist though on the body, but other than that, it's a great figure. And this figure is called Thunder Snake. Now it's got quite a lot of points of articulation. Paintwork's really decent if you have a look at it, and it's quite heavy. It's a real good quality figure for a knockoff figure. It's by Mannix, and this one here, have a look at the detail on the back, I've got listed on eBay. These are my last two figures that I'm selling. If anybody's interested, this is what they're going for. So I hope you've all enjoyed the video. I'll be bringing quite a lot more videos like this. It depends on how much interest this video generates, but I hope to do a part 2 coming up very soon, where I'm going to be looking at some more bootleg action figures. In the meantime, thanks for watching and have a great day.